The story begins with how, during the era of the Cyrillic riots, people wanted to wield the power that could cut through the skies. That is why this era is called the Era of Heroes. Among the many worthy soldiers, one of them had a chance to master such power. This soldier's name was Yoko Bong-sun. The story of this man is very long and interesting. He could get any girl and had a great physique. Despite his strength and courage, he still lost his final battle. However, his story of great victories is the story of a mighty warrior who bravely fought death. Suddenly words began to sound from somewhere. The guy picked up the weapon and couldn't understand what was happening. He looked to the side and shouted that arrows were flying towards them. The guy couldn't understand where he was and why he was here alone. Suddenly another man shouted to him and asked what he was doing. Our hero could not understand whether this was the voice of Ren's dream. The guy started shouting for our hero to turn around, because there were archers ahead. He gave the command to shoot, but suddenly the guys saw something. The partner told our hero to be careful, because a lot of arrows were flying at them. All of them were aimed at our hero, and his partner already thought that he was finished. But suddenly, the arrows simply bounced off his face. The guy stood still and realized that he had begun to remember something. He remembered what happened before he closed his eyes. Our hero remembers that before this man decided to hang him, he told something important. But he could not understand what kind of person was in front of him. The warriors began to ask our hero if everything was okay with him. But his head began to hurt more and more because of the memories. He looked around and realized that this looked like a serious battle, because there were about 1,000 people here. He looked at his partner and thought that he needed to destroy him. Suddenly there was a blinding light. After this, the soldiers began to run and did not understand what was happening. They were all panicked and ran towards each other. Looking at our hero, they decided to attack him because he was all alone. T-Hen responded by saying that he didn't care even if they attacked, all at once. He grabbed one by the head, and he begged for mercy. But after that, our hero simply pushed him into the ground and destroyed him. Other warriors looked at this and thought that the same thing awaited them. But despite this, the warriors still decided to start the battle. One of them asked our hero if he really came alone to the battlefield to bring them his head. If this is so, then he will destroy it with great pleasure. After these words, they began to attack T-Hen. At that moment, a fight began between our hero and the warrior. People looked at it all and could only guess which of them would win. Imagine their surprise when one of the warriors lay destroyed on the ground. The second shouted for everyone to urgently destroy our hero. He ordered to gather forward and not be afraid. They believed that they would not lose this battle and relied on their own strength. T-Hen dealt with each one in turn, but the warriors never spared their strength. They all ran away and ran to fight our heroes. When the whole group ran towards him, he activated some kind of power. Looking at this, the warriors were simply shocked. After all this, our hero's army thanked him for his good work. Coming back, the guy couldn't understand what exactly, but something was bothering him. Suddenly he noticed that his body was not listening. This always happens to him when he wakes up. He couldn't believe if what just happened was a dream. After all, he doesn't want it to end like this. Our hero began to lose consciousness, and people began to ask if he was okay. Our hero began to ask the Almighty to give him another chance, even if it was a dream. One of his assistants began to ask for a stretcher to be brought urgently. Suddenly a girl stood in front of the guy and said that warriors come and go. She asked if the earth really remembers all the heroes who were on this planet. Our hero looked at her and was perplexed whether this was really his girlfriend. She began to ask him for forgiveness in tears for leaving him. She added that she would be waiting for him, and he must leave a mark on history. But what can an idiot do who doesn't know what he wants? Some man said if he has something, then let him take care of it, and this is his story. He added that the guy made friends with death, and now he must live, and somehow save himself. After all these words, the exterminator simply swung away with a huge sword. When our hero's head flew off, he only thought that if he had another chance, He would become a defender of the world. Suddenly he woke up in a room, and was all bandaged. Our hero looked at his hand, and it was covered in needles. He couldn't understand if this was really another dream, and what was happening to him now. Suddenly, his partner said that it seemed our hero had missed several arrows, and passed out. He added that Tae-hyun is not that strong. Let him stop lying around now, and get up, since he is already fine. Our hero immediately began to hug him, and said that he was very glad to see him. Immediately his partner saw these needles, and said that they would hug after he removed them. His partner began to slowly remove these needles from him, and said that he had almost lost his eye. Tae-hyun turned to him, and said that something was wrong. He asked if Song-ren really took him from there. He replied that yes, but now they have work waiting for them. Our hero was very angry, and said that it was all in the past. Tae-hyun asked if there was a garden in this place 10 years ago. My partner said yes. If this is so, then it looks like our hero has gone back in time. After some time, Song-ren helped him pull out the needles. After which they asked him how he was feeling, whether he fell ill because of a couple of poisoned arrows. The partner asked if our hero had really encountered something like this before. He thought to himself how it was that his warrior friends were still alive. Tae-hyun was very happy that this was not a dream, and he really went back in time. Friends asked why he burst into tears, and whether the poison had an effect on him. He ran to hug them all, but the guys thought he was just crazy. Song-ren told the guy to stop, because at this rate he would break all their bones. But the guy was still very happy, and thanked the Lord for this gift. After some time, all the soldiers gathered on the street, and began marching. The friends started talking to each other. They could not understand why they were doing this. Everyone was surprised at how our hero changed after he got back on his feet. Even though he looks healthy, he still does strange things. Even before leaving, he said that this time the soldiers could take the loot for themselves. They did not begin to object, since his word is law. The warriors were surprised that they would finally get what was rightfully theirs. Our hero said that they were not going at them blindly, because he values his army and he has a plan. One of the warriors asked if he was really not healthy at all. What else was the plan? Song-ren said that his partner doubts our hero, since he is probably not delusional. Suddenly he asked his partner to give him a dagger. He looked up the mountain, and his friend asked him what was the matter. Song-ren took the dagger and swung it upward. The partner asked with a curious face what was happening there. Song-ren replied that there were enemies there. As it turned out, there was an ambush on the top of the mountain. After this, all the warriors began to prepare for battle, and were happy about it. They looked at the mountain, and realized where the shit was coming from all this time. Meanwhile, at the top of the mountain, the main one was very angry with his partners. He started yelling at them, and asking why they were making so much noise. He ordered them to prepare for battle, but his warriors thought that everything would go like clockwork. The chief turned to our hero's army, and asked why they had come here. Regardless of whether they are soldiers or bandits, no one will dare to rob him. He took out his weapon and said that he would not allow such freaks to have it. After that, he began to fight with the warriors, and asked where their leader was. The chief waved his weapon, and added that the soldiers had attacked the wrong person. He said that he would destroy them all right now. Song-ren and his partner looked at this, and were shocked at how strong this man was. Our hero's army began to retreat, and Tae-hyun liked it, since no one was hurt, as he had planned. Sun-ren looked at him, and wondered if this was his plan. The guys continued to run and Song-ren shouted for his people to stop panicking. Meanwhile, in Pyo Chuseon's castle, the people were in fear. They looked into the distance, and could not understand what was happening there. Was it really a collapse? After that, they decided to report everything to the boss. Our hero came to the main thing, and said that it was all about the robbers. He thanked them and said that there was no need to apologize, because they had dealt with them. Suddenly Peng Chusong saw some carts and became curious. Having torn off the canvas, he saw a lot of gold and realized that this was their prey. As it turned out, now all these riches are theirs. Our hero confirmed these words, and said that he would probably go for a walk. But since this was the case, the old man decided to stop him a little. He began to whisper with his partner, and discuss something. It was already late in the evening. Our hero was having fun in a bar with other warriors. After all, everything went according to plan. A little earlier, the old man thought that he would need to give away part of this wealth, because there were some troubles. In honor of this, the warriors decided to take even more drinks. Meanwhile, in the backyard of the castle, one of the soldiers reported to the man that our hero had been hit by several poisoned arrows. The owner of the gardens said that it was very great that our hero had recovered, because he was very worried about him. Song Ren added that our hero left the Kissa-en house. The owner of the gardens said that Ti-hen has changed so much that he is already starting to worry. After all, before our hero really expected wealth and resorted to violence. But now he laughs or closes himself off from everyone. Song Ren thought that the owner of the garden was slandering them, but he replied that this was not so. Song Ren said that if the master doesn't arrange something, he will leave and never come back. After some time, he came to the bar and asked everyone to pay attention to him. As it turned out, he brought more booze and meat. After that, everyone started drinking and eating, and the fun continued. Our hero stood up and said the first toast to their fallen comrades. After all, they couldn't cope without them, so we need to honor their memory. As always, they showed their valor and tenacity of character. In addition, he added that the soldiers should take the surviving uniforms and use them as they saw fit. He added that you need to make the most of it, and this is a calculated decision. Our hero began to think that using tactics would give them confidence on the battlefield. He has been given the opportunity to atone for his sins, so he cannot miss it. The next thick thing was that they came back alive. And let those who go against his friends know that he will not abandon them and send them to the next world as offenders. The soldiers began to have fun and were very grateful to Ti-hen. Our hero returned to the past again and lead these people. A little later, one of the soldiers came outside and asked why Song Ren was sitting here alone. Today everyone is having fun, even our hero, but he sits gloomy as a cloud. Song Ren said that he was just a little nervous. The soldier said that he and our hero have changed a lot. It seems strange. The soldier added that Song Ren was afraid in vain. Was he really afraid of the old man? If this is the case, then he should drink a little more and relax. One of the soldiers added that even if you are smart, you can do anything you want. Song Ren replied that he had already been there, so it was better to go and rest. After some time, something happened and one of the warriors said that it was all because of Song Ren. The next morning, our hero picked up a weapon and began to practice. Friends looked at this and were surprised, because yesterday he drank for 5, and today he was like a cucumber. The guy thought to himself that he was still very far from ideal, because he needed to master 3 more types of weapons. Suddenly, one of the soldiers urgently began screaming for our hero to run to the barracks. They said it was about Song Ren and the guards told him to come out. Ti-hen thought that this really happened, so he decided to go and deal with these bastards. Our hero came to the old man, and he asked if he wanted tea. The guy replied that no, because there are more important things to do. The old man replied that the two had insulted him and caused him serious problems. He asked our hero if he really had nothing to answer, or had he gone off the rails. Our hero replied that the teacher did not call him to scold him, so it was better to get to the point. The old man told him about Lao Yang's sworn enemy, and added that our hero should give him something. But the messenger cannot cope with this, because rumors about the skill of this enemy are spreading very quickly. The old man added that they must go to enemy territory to recruit him. Since a good reward awaited them, our hero decided to move tomorrow, and asked to be provided with horses and provisions. After some time, already on the way, the warriors began to explain to each other what needed to be done. He said that this time they didn't have to deal with the bandits again. Our hero was already tired of the noise from his partner, and he silently asked if he could recruit Lao Yang. He told his soldiers that Lao Yang's soldiers had been destroyed. Therefore, our hero can't wait to find out if he will succeed. The guys continued on their way, but it seems that someone saw them. Someone was watching them and said that he would finish them off. The second stopped his partner and told him to stop, because there were only 3 of them, and there was no need to get his hands dirty. Therefore, the first one decided to simply rob them and take away everything valuable. Before he could move forward, he saw our hero rushing towards him. People were shocked. Had he gone crazy to attack alone? When Tihen was already closer, they decided to leave quickly. But hearing these words, my partner asked why this was so. The first one said that our hero was not right in the head, so he needed to get out quickly. But they didn't have time to do this, and Tihen began to deal with everyone. Their battle even sent high smoke into the sky. Some guy heard this and couldn't understand what just happened. Meanwhile, our hero's soldiers asked why they attacked those people. Suddenly one of them noticed something in the distance, but since there was no noise, it was probably his imagination. At that moment, our hero noticed that the arrow was flying towards them. Looking deep into the trees, he saw the glow from the shot. After that, Tihen realized that the one they needed was sitting there. The guy smiled and said that he was even better than he thought. Meanwhile, the guy was at a loss as to how he could have missed with his arrow. In any case, he wants to destroy our soldiers, but he seems to have lost track of them. The archer noticed that he had a bad feeling, and noticed how they were coming towards him. He ordered everyone to retreat, because they did not have time. At that moment, he realized that it looked like he would have to accept the fight. The guy pulled his arrows to make the first shot. But when he turned around, he saw a weapon in front of him, and could not understand what kind of power it was. He began to draw the arrows even more, but could not aim. At that moment, our hero flew on his horse right in front of the archer. Tihen said that the archer ran into the wrong guy, and he wouldn't be able to hit him. Since he is an archer, he is easy to defeat in close combat. Because of this, the archer immediately began to fall down. He fell from a great height into the trees, and realized that our hero had killed him. The soldiers with our hero looked at him, and Tihen said that he could not be left here. He added that his partners can rest, because he can handle it himself. Our hero added that these archers are their mission. Suddenly they looked at him, and asked if he was okay. The archer looked at him, and realized what they were up to and called them monstrous abominations. The soldiers looked at him and pointed their swords, asking what he just said. Our hero looked at him, and laughed, because he had turned the art of shooting into an empty phrase. He added that the archer is a stupid guy. He asked if our hero knew how many he had destroyed with his bow. But as it turned out, he only killed innocent people, and speaks as if they were his enemies. Our hero could not believe that having such talent, he was only engaged in robbery. The archer got angry at his words, and asked what he was talking about. He said he had nowhere to sleep, and no food at all. Therefore, he could not do anything in this situation. Tihen looked at the archer, and said that he would go take it off. The soldiers were shocked at how he ranted, but theft is not normal. Our hero said that they were fighting real villains, and so the archer had a chance. Looking at Tihen's bow, he realized that he also wanted to use his weapon for something more meaningful. A little later, our hero was walking around in some place, and said that it annoyed him. He came this far just to deliver the news, thinking that he needed to go back and get the newbies to practice. He walked and heard some song about a beauty. The guy never thought he could hear this song in Luoyang. He approached a girl and asked if she was from Haddon. The girl began to slowly leave, and the guy said that he was also from there, and that the girl should not misunderstand. She replied that she was from Haddon, and was born in Taiwan. The girl handed over a piece of paper, and asked our hero to look at what was written there. But as it turned out, our hero doesn't know the letter at all, which is why the girl started laughing. She asked how the guy could keep everything in his hands, if he didn't know about as of itself. Tihen asked in response, if he doesn't know the letters, can't he do anything? The girl added that her book has a couple of lines about this. Our hero said that she looked very smart, and decided to find out something. He started talking about one person, and the girl immediately understood who he was talking about. The guy was shocked. How could she know about this? The girl replied that she also lived in Haddon. Tihen began to tell her that when she grows up, she will become a eunuch, who will occupy quite high places. Hearing the name of the eunuch she knew, the girl asked him again. Kang Suk has been in touch with Governor Cho for a long time. Chang Yang, this is a person who won't even notice that Governor Cho is holding a meeting. But the last one is Cho Jun, he is the deputy. The girl asked that surely the reason they gave away their fortune was because of the famous scientist Chin. As it turned out, he almost managed to subjugate a political connection, but he was slandered and sent to one of the countries of the north. And it is obvious that even this did not help satisfy this order. The girl asked who could ruin the governor's main name. The main one is Cho Jun, because if he wants to know something, he will find out with a satisfied expression on his face, like a raccoon. Our hero talked to the girl, and asked her name, but this is the only thing she cannot tell the one she teaches. The guy looked at her and thought that now she looks like that same girl. She looked at Tihen, and asked if he was okay. Our hero stood up and said that he would like to repay her for her kindness, but he has no money now. He began to leave and said that he would see each other again, if fate so decreed it. The girl thanked the guy for the time he spent with her. After she said goodbye to our heroes, the girl approached the bridge. At this time, two guys were watching her, and seemed to be planning something. After some time, cries for help were heard. As it turned out, these guys grabbed the girl, and wanted to give her to the old men who love to spend their nights with such babes. The second robber asked whether if you sleep with such a beauty, even if you are an old man you can feel young. And if that's the case, then this girl would be perfect. But after 2 years, its price will decrease significantly. After these words the girl decided to bite the guy on the hand. The robber said that this would not work, and now he would give her a pair of teeth. Suddenly someone called him from behind, and asked if he really wanted problems. After this a spectacular fight began. The second robber asked if our hero really didn't know who he dared to raise his hand against. The guy took him by the headdress and asked if he really wanted to die. After that, our hero raised his hand, and began to beat the robber. The girl lay to the side, and only heard cries for help. After our hero dealt with the robbers, she thanked the guy, but he replied that this was gratitude in return. The girl added that our hero appeared on time. She asked him for his name again, so she could find and repay his kindness. The guy replied that he was from Ovan. If she wants to repay him, then let her sing a song. He added that if they met by chance again, then let her sing the song she sang yesterday. The girl took his hand and said that she would look forward to their next meeting. Our hero's friends watched all this, and were perplexed. They didn't understand why the guy said goodbye to her so easily. After some time, he listened to his speech in the old man's office. He said that our hero deserved a reward for being able to complete the task without mistakes. Our hero bowed his head, and thanked the old man. The old man asked the assistant what award was given to Bong's son. After this, he said that the appropriate reward would be Tanye. After this, everyone who was present was surprised. Tanye, this is the keeper of gondolas and sages. This is an animal whose purpose was to destroy evil. Those who held the flag with his image received honor and respect. People began to ask whether the old man thought such a reward was too valuable for our hero. After that, he hit the table, and asked everyone to close their mouths. He ordered that our hero be awarded this award, and let him treat all his friends with meat and drink. Tihen was shocked that the old man was doing this. Our hero really used to be such a scoundrel. To the assistant's question, the old man said let him try to accomplish at least 1 feat. He added that if anyone manages to accomplish what our hero has achieved, they will receive an appropriate reward. Our hero obeyed the order, and began to leave with his soldiers. A little later the old man told the teacher to do as he said. After this, The teacher met with our hero and asked why he was still here. I look at his face, and he asked if it was really difficult for our hero. He added that since his last mission, our hero has changed a lot. T-Hen said he wants to get another reward. After this, the teacher was shocked. I expected that this reward could not be eaten, and that it would also not be possible to use it as a weapon. The guy added that it would be better if they just gave him treasure, or weapons instead. After this, the teacher began to strongly swear at our hero, saying that he was a fool. He added that the guy said such nonsense without knowing what this reward means. The teacher added that this reward is not only a salary, and an excellent horse, but also a search status. Our hero began to apologize and said that he had rethought. From the moment the guy received this award, his warriors received the place of commanders of troops, and then were given precious swords. After this, our hero decided to create a new order for his army, and more people wanted to join his ranks. Now T-Hen, who received this award, has become the main target of rumors that he will now lead the army. At one point he came to the teacher and asked if he really wanted to see him. The teacher stood with his back turned and said that the month was almost over. Our hero said that a lot has changed in just a few days. The teacher said that they did not need to waste time and immediately start solving matters. He wanted our hero to take his warriors and go north. Our hero asked if they would really have to attack the northern barbarians first. The teacher replied that there was no need to do that, they should just go and be on their guard. The guy was surprised that they didn't need to do anything except be on guard. The teacher asked if he was again trying to act as he thought. Our hero said that if the case does not require much, then they can send someone else. But the teacher expected this answer. He said that recently black mountaineers began to appear near the control point. Since the terrain in that area is mountainous, it will be difficult to use the strength of their cavalry, so our hero must go there with his soldiers. The guy began to think and realized that at this time of year there are riots, and riots, here and there. It is strangely infested with robbers and thieves, and in the capital, corrupt eunuchs are begging the residents for their last money. After this, the guy said that he would exactly follow the teacher's order. The teacher thanked him and gave him something, telling him to take it with him. T-Hen must deliver this letter to the high-ranking officials in Wonya. Our hero was shocked. If he is talking about Wonya, then perhaps he means Chang Yang. This is the commander who made a lot of efforts to hold off the enemies and gain control of Penju. In addition, he succeeded in training a warrior team of young people from Ovan and leading them on the offensive. Therefore, in the ranks of Penza he was dubbed Master Chen, thereby showing him their respect. Our hero remembered that he was the only person who believed in him to the end, and he could not even dream of meeting him again. A little later in the evening, sitting by the fire, our hero asked his partner how big their army was. As it turned out, the army now numbers 500 people, because recently the number has increased significantly. Come on, all this, there is not a single person who knows how to write it down. After all, he can't believe that they have 500 people. The partner asked why he got it right if they had managed without grammar before. The suggested to our hero that he ask Master Chan. He added that the master will be able to give away one educated warrior, because he has many of them. T-Hen asked where his partner came up with such brilliant ideas. Our hero added that he would be the first to go to Angel, and his partner thought that he wanted to leave them. Don't waste a second of time, the guy sat on his horse, and said that any important thing should be done in advance. The partner began to shout. He would also now be in charge, but after that our hero shouted to him to replace him. Meanwhile, in the mountains, the robbers caught a man and wanted to rob him, but he only had books. The robber asked if they could now only eat air, and how it happened that he had nothing edible. After that, the bandit asked why he was muttering to himself on the tray. The guy said with tears that he wanted to become a military man, namely the wars of Tanya's troops. The bandits were shocked when they heard these words. They had T-Hen in charge. They started laughing, saying that these were the same rowdy and savages. The robber added that our hero was the craziest and he was Penjo's biggest mistake. The guys added that this commander is only good at drinking alcohol and attacking innocent people. The second robber confirmed these words and said that it was not for nothing that there were rumors about this. Suddenly our hero rode up to them on a horse, and the guys were a little surprised. The guy said that he would have driven further, but he accidentally heard his name. He couldn't even think that some idiots who didn't even hear the sound of hooves were standing and throwing mud at him. He clenched his fist and said that it was funny that these boys unanimously decided to boss him around. Our hero dealt with one of the bandits and said that he interrupted them at the most interesting place. The second robber began to stop him and asked what was happening to our heroes. The guy was very angry. I said that he was just Penjo's biggest mistake. A few seconds later the guys were kneeling near the bushes, and our hero was mocking them. He added that they were very weak, and asked who was in charge here. Our hero continued to push his speech to them, but suddenly someone called him. A man stood behind him with wool in his hands, and asked who he was. Our hero realized that the one who turned to him was the main one of these freaks. A huge man with a bear over his shoulder asked how our hero dared to touch those who wouldn't even hurt a fly. He shouted in his voice for the guy to answer him everything. Our hero looked at him and thought that he had a good figure. Suddenly his face became very surprised, because T-Hen remembered that he had seen this guy somewhere. As soon as he wanted to ask him something, the guy immediately hit him in the face. Our hero began to remember that this guy Guo Song, no matter how terrible the battle was, if he was nearby, then all the excitement disappeared. Guo Song knew the art of Bai very well, and never skimped on advice and instructions, but still there was someone who never listened to him. Nevertheless, Guo Song always remained faithful to the end to someone who may not have deserved it. But for our hero it was an honor to stay with him until the end. During the blow to the face, the guy thought that he should draw his appearance in his memory. Suddenly the guy grabbed his hand and hit him back. The longer Nargis looked at him, the clearer his image became. So far his face has no scar, but he deserves one. He saw the same shape of the ice, and decided to check. Sergei said that he has 2 thrones, and he is already making a show. And she was glad that if he thought of his brother with him, then let him not attack like that. Suddenly the guy started running towards our hero, and said that he would destroy him. The guy became interested and agreed with his words. After this, the guys began to fight for some time. They struck and could not overcome each other. Suddenly, Guo Song highlighted the position and our hero noticed something was wrong. Guo Song grabbed our hero, and began to direct him straight into the tree. After that, T-Hen stood up and began to fight further. He grabbed his opponent and threw him to the side. Our hero looked at the place where he fell, and said that it was magnificent. After looking at his strength, and after 8, he realized that it was definitely Guo Song. After that, the guy stood up and admitted that he had underestimated our hero. Therefore, he decided that now he would give it his all and our hero would find out what it was like to compete with someone who had undergone the Kin Gap training. After that, with anger on his face, he began to fight. The guys got into a fight again, and began to fight. Suddenly, our hero's eyes turned red, and Guo Song didn't understand what was happening. T-Hen started hacking his hands, and the guy asked him to stop. Our hero said with a smile on his face that they weren't finished yet. Hearing that his name was Guo Song, our hero realized that he was right. In this case, he stopped mocking him and asked the guy to join his ranks. A little later they sat by the fire and ate the bear. Our hero said that he was finally full. The guys also had a delicious meal. Now the guys have no choice, otherwise our hero will ruin half of their lives. After that, the guy asked how they got to the point of trying to steal people. He added that the guys would better follow him, then he would turn a blind eye to what happened today. But first of all, T-Hen decided to make sure if there was any of them who knew how to read and write. The guys just sat there and didn't say a single word. Our hero realized that it was useless. Suddenly the men whom the guys wanted to rob during the day said that he knew. The boy added that he was very good and asked our hero to take him in with him. He also added that he will do everything possible for this. Meanwhile, some army of people was traveling in some direction. Suddenly the commander noticed that you were in the distance and asked you to stop the army. The soldiers stood in front and asked who they were and how they dared to block the path of Cheng Yang's army from Anjiang. The leader replied that they had come to convey the words of Kultal from the great army about Huang Day. In one of the soldiers said that now the troops of this army are plotting an attack on the general, so the leader must withdraw the troops. Suddenly he shouted that the door would be opened from the inside. He added that there are rumors that the chief has a secret relationship with Lo Huan's army. The commander was shocked by these words and said that after all, they were also O Huan's people. The main thing was asking how he can believe that this message from Kultal is true. Suddenly the soldier began to take off his headdress and said that he would introduce himself again. It turned out to be the daughter of Kultal, from the great army of O Huan Day, and her name is Hoi. The girl added that her information was true. She said that it was her responsibility, so she would tell it like it is. As soon as she wanted to continue her speech, the guy brought the weapon to her face. The leader said that he could not bear to listen to this nonsense, so let them return. He added that he would turn a blind eye to their antics, so let them just get out of the way. The girl waved her hand and asked what they were doing. She got angry and told the leader to send this emergency message to the nearest point. The girl added that this is a danger not only for his army, but it may be that it will already be razed to the ground. So let them hurry up. Meanwhile, our hero decided to find out even more about the boy, who knows how to read and write. He added that for someone who knows grammar, in view of this guy, he was like that. The guy said that it was all because of those guys who attacked him during the day. Tihen asked if he could not only read, but also write. Our hero was surprised by the words of the guy, who told him about how much he read. The boy added that he was going to become a copycat of Jun Hai, but then he changed his mind because of what he saw of others. This story was enough for our hero, and he said that he would entrust him with the post of military official in the Tanya army. Hearing the name of this guy Ti-Hyun, I was surprised again, because his name is Jin Irik. He wondered if this was the same one he had known before. After all the conversations, the guys decided to go to bed early so that they could meet their wars early in the morning. Before going to bed, the guy thought maybe this was the same person he knew. Well, in this life he is not as loving as the last one. But our hero decided to get rid of these thoughts, because he would simply teach them grammar, and lock the food warehouse. After some time, Song Ren was very glad that their general had returned. He ran out of his hut, and began to meet our hero. He asked him why he was the first to leave, and came later than everyone else. Song Ren said that while our hero was away, some guy arrived and they grabbed him. Tihen stood in the front room, and could not understand what he was saying. It was also clear to him that he was a messenger. But as it turned out, Guo-sun was able to translate his words. That guy had urgent news to convey, and asked to be sorted out. Song Ren saw how Guo-song understood their language, and asked our hero who he nailed to them this time. The guy replied that when he was little, his father and O Huan were involved in smuggling, so he understands a little. As soon as that man was untied, he said that O Huan's warriors seemed to be heading towards the great army. Song Ren was surprised by these words, and asked if the guy knew anything about this. Our hero realized that he probably went to the great army to ensure the safety of the ambassador, on the orders of Hyun Go of Hwangyo. The warriors of the great army were always friendly with them, until they created colonies and hated them. Guo Song said, even if they decide, it will still take them time to overcome the Great Wall. Well, even if the wall collapsed a long time ago, they still haven't shown off and received an award for a long time. Guo Song decided to ask the guy how big this army was. He replied that it was about 3,000 people. Song Ren took our hero by the shoulder and said that moving troops without orders from his superiors is a serious crime. But Tian replied that he couldn't just sit with his hands folded. But Song Ren said that he is also a commander, and he can't help but worry. But if they do everything now as you think, then they will only end up with problems later. Our hero clenched his fist, and thought about how to act. He guessed that on the day of the capture of the Xavi fortress, when he came to save him. Was it really then that he began to have these experiences? Our hero said that they would definitely go there. He asked Song Ren to tell Vadim that only those who want to save Master Chen will go there. After some time, some army fought in the battle. One of the soldiers could not understand how they had been withstanding the onslaught of an army for more than noon, the number of which outnumbered them 10 times. The leader said that it was time to end this. He must just be a little tired from such a long fight. The soldiers rushed forward so as not to give them a break. The leader exhaled and said that it was time to end all this. Suddenly a great anger appeared on his face, and he shouted that this couldn't happen. The second commander asked what he was going to do. Have they really fought so much until now, and now they can't drive less than 200? But as it turned out, half of the army had already been lost, and Chang Yang was very tired. The second general took the horse, and said that he would deal with everyone himself. The first general was told that they had no more reinforcements left, and the soldier asked if he would order a retreat. He replied that they were not the type to retreat so easily. He ordered the seriously wounded warriors to be collected from the battlefield, and quickly dragged away. One of the soldiers was very wounded, and asked the general for forgiveness. He added that he did not stop demanding an offensive from them, and destroyed his army. And it seems that through his fault his brothers will be unjustly destroyed. He added that the general should blame him for everything, because it was all his fault. 17. But due to his unintelligible muttering, the general could not listen to anything else. Perhaps if they had heard him then, they would have survived and been able to defeat their armies. The general thought, if they die now, then the whole of Pengzu will know about it, that these idiots have conquered them. The army commander said that they gained time, and among the dead brothers there were those who crossed the boundaries of what was permitted. Well, the commander himself did not go that far. Thanks to the general they became a participant in the great battle. The general confirmed these words, and said that in the end, it was an honor for them to be together. The commander, with his last breaths, began to say that the enemy was attacking again, and they must retreat. But the general shouted very loudly and called for attention. He said that the true wolves of Pengzu always pursue their prey to the end. And those who fight against them are field-destroying rats. If they show him their shining heels now, they will become prey. Even if they are not destined to die, then let them do it with dignity. After these words, the general announced the hunt. The warriors went into battle and believed that they would succeed. Suddenly the army noticed that their commander was not far away. Therefore, he needed to hurry up, but suddenly another stopped him. He said that he needed to go to the general. The leader pointed his weapon at them, and asked what he just said. Our hero's soldiers looked at him, and were perplexed. After this, the enemy leader dealt with them. Suddenly he saw an arrow in front of him. The girl called our hero and, with a bow in her hands, said that she had dealt with them. She added that it seems that the man with the fiery hair is also their military leader. Our hero told his assistants to stay, and he would go there. He gathered his warriors, and told them to go forward. The leader noticed that our hero's army had reinforcements. But looking at it, he realized that he had seen it somewhere. Is it really Tian? One of the soldiers asked his general what they should do next. He replied, let those who remain displace those who are coming here. The soldier listened to the order, and said that the challenge was accepted. The leader of the army looked at this, and realized that this was indeed our hero. He was wondering how this could happen. But after thinking a little, the leader decided that it was too late. He entered into battle with our hero's assistant. The partner asked if his master was okay. The leader of the enemy army saw how the guys ended up here. Song Ren replied that our hero quickly gathered them, and brought them here. But first they must leave the battlefield, because their safety comes first. Suddenly, a blinding light was heard behind them. Song Ren and his partner reacted to this explosion with a smile on their faces. Meanwhile, Tihen used his power to defeat the enemy soldiers. Those soldiers stood on the battlefield and could not understand why they were doing this. They were a sign of what was happening because they were unable to take them in quantity. The general said that if his soldiers did not move forward now, he would personally finish them off. Tihen already stood in front of this army and realized that it seemed like victory was in his pocket. Well, it would cost the lives of his people. Our hero decided that he needed to quickly deal with the enemy commanders and finish this. Suddenly his assistant shouted, pointing his finger in the direction where that same military leader stood. The guys realized that they were in a bad position, and our hero's army was pushing them out. The second commander replied that these were only a few hundred people, and therefore there was no need to worry. At that moment, our hero began to rush towards them in order to destroy them. The military commander saw this and became very angry. How dare the guy do such an act? The second team looked at this and said that he wouldn't even dare lay a finger on them. Our hero's assistant said that these guys wouldn't even be able to resist if they touched them a little. Song Ren confirmed these words and said that there is no need for them to interfere here. The commander of the enemy army told his general to leave because he would sort it out himself. The new boss said with anger on her face that he would do everything himself. After that, they met head-on with our hero and began to fight. The commander's face was filled with fear and great excitement. But our hero's eyes began to rage, and he was ready to tear the military leader apart. After that, he waved his weapon in such a way that he deprived the commander of his arms. Ti-Hyun said, if he whines like that, he'll just die quietly from his hwabuk. The leader realized that our hero is an enemy with whom he cannot cope, so he must get out of there. I didn't change my mind about anything better. The boss decided to just run away from here. Suddenly he heard a sound behind him and decided to return. As it turned out, Guo-sun was catching up with him so that this coward could not escape so easily. The military leader, with fear on his face and misunderstanding, asked himself where these monsters came from. After some time, our hero turned to the enemy army. He said that with his weapon he was able to get the head of their commander. So he told the soldiers to drop their weapons and surrender. Song Ren also confirmed his words and said that the best solution for the soldiers would be to simply surrender. The commander looked at all this. I could not believe that there was a general who had now been destroyed. Our hero realized that the soldiers were too stupid and decided to finish them off. The commander began shouting for his army to retreat. People from their kingdom looked at this, and they simply had no words. After some time in the area of our hero, and people stood over the man's body. Our hero asked how his condition was and Guo-song replied that he was fine. At this time, someone came into the room and called Tihen. It turned out to be Song Ren. He said that a messenger had arrived with an urgent letter. Some girl came into their room and said it was tense. This girl's name is Gukui. She is the daughter of Wat Guangdaegong, Chital. Gukui congratulated our hero on his victory. The guy greeted her and said that he saved General Cheng Yang thanks to her news. In addition, they managed to avoid war, but the girl had a question. She asked how our hero was able to join the battle with 200 soldiers against an army of 1,000. Gukun asked if he was really that confident or if he simply couldn't make the right decision. Song Ren was very angry at her words, because the girl asked why our hero could not cope with such a simple situation. Suddenly their conversation was interrupted by our hero, who replied that he simply did what he wanted. He added that he just needed to overcome the boredom of the long journey. The girl heard his answer and said that he was confident. Tihen confirmed these words and showed her the will of God, which is an order from heaven. The guy added, even if he faces 1,000 or 1,000,000 enemies, he will not die until he completes his mission. After these words, the girl began to laugh a little, and the guys were perplexed. Gukun began to leave the room, saying that next time she would thank him carefully. Finally, she only told our hero to be careful. Song Ren stood there and couldn't understand what the hell just happened. Guo Song replied that all the Wonwon people are so determined and brave. Our hero told Song Ren to forget about it, because they helped them save Master Yang. Suddenly their attention was attracted by an old man, who seemed to be starting to get out of bed. The guys approached the master, but he only muttered something to himself on the tray. Our hero realized that he had uttered the words God's will. The master said that the guy who hit himself in the face with a spear in his youth became so arrogant. Our hero realized that it seemed like the old man was okay, since he could joke. The master said that he had not seen Song Ren for a long time. I need to thank the guys for saving him. Song Ren replied that he would call Wu Yao along with Guo Song. Now only our hero and master remain in the room. Tihan asked how he led the troops without permission. The master asked not to worry and added that he would write a letter to Master Dong. Our hero replied that maybe that master will understand that our hero prevented a big battle and will even give him a reward. Master Yang shook hands with our hero and thanked him for such help. Thanks to him, his soldiers were able to survive. And now they can send to rest all those who died in the war. The master said that he would owe our hero for this. But he replied that the master had already done enough. After this, the old man asked him about the will of God, where our hero heard about it. My boyfriend replied that he needed to tell Vu Eve all about this. Meanwhile, some kind of battle was taking place in another area. Several soldiers decided to attack one boy by pointing their fingers at him. The guy replied that he didn't want to fight Idinidin, so let everyone attack at once. Song Ren burst into our hero's premises with urgent news. As it turned out, he received news from the guard. They say they are under attack. Our hero took these words and asked if they were one soldiers and how many there were. The assistant replied that it was just one soldier. Meanwhile, this guy was able to take one of the commanders hostage. The guy said that the Great Wall of China is in front, and it is a sin to be a soldier in Yuzhou. The boy asked the soldiers to get out of the way. Things were bad, so the soldiers called in consumption. They are making such a fuss about just one child. At this time, our hero came with Song Ren and asked how they could act like this. Our hero looked at the boy and realized that he was truly on his own. Even without a weapon, he was able to silence several soldiers, so this is impressive. The guy saw our hero and said that it wouldn't just end like that, so she asked him to come up to him. Tihan asked his assistant to act so harshly, and asked the boy how old he was. The guys started asking if he was a soldier from Wudwang. But the boy got angry and said no. Our hero thought that this was a border area, and therefore it was not surprising that there was someone from Wudwang here. He added that his soldiers should leave, because if there is no enemy, then there is no need to fight. The warriors told him that the people were tense because of the recent battle with the Wudwang soldiers. After all this, our hero said that the boy should also leave then. But when Tihan had already turned around to go in his own direction, Parnisha immediately began to attack him. Our hero grabbed him by the leg, and he probably could not have expected such a turn of action. After that, the guy threw it to the side and spun it in the air. The boy asked what he was doing and began to solve the problem. He said that our hero not only beats defenseless people, but also does not apologize to them. Tihan said that it was retaliation, and they suffered quite a lot because of them. The boy did not like all this, and he wanted to fight with our heroes. The guy looked at him and realized that his movements were impressive. Had he really studied, or was he just so talented? This boy must have gone through all kinds of training. But despite this, he still has a lot to do. After the retaliatory strike, the boy lay on the ground and was wounded. Our hero approached him and asked if he hit him lightly. Tihan, you are surprised that this boy was able to knock out several soldiers, and now he lies and grimaces. Imagine our hero's surprise when the boy asked him to repeat it. The guy added that our hero couldn't just hit him like that, because it would be dishonest. The boy asked to give him a spear, because he wanted to fight with this weapon. Tihan, ask your assistant to give him his spear. Our hero gave this spear to the boy, and said that it would also work as a weapon. The guy looked at his reflection in the blade, and said that it looked like he would really have to fight with this. Hearing these words, the assistant became angry and said that the boy was a scoundrel. Waving his weapon, the boy said that now they will fight correctly. But before the battle begins, our hero wants to hear his name. As it turns out, his name is Xiaoyan, and he comes from Changshan. Xiaoyan looked at our hero and asked if this is all. He replied that he no longer had any weapons left. But he won't need it to defeat the child. Our hero added that he could give him 3 chances. After that, the guy immediately began to attack Tihen. Our hero wanted to defeat him carefully, but his plans changed. The guy took the spear from his partner and said that he would give it back later. After that, Tihen no hit the boy so hard that his spear even broke. Song Ren looked at this and was very upset. The boy who lost the battle said that it would be better for our hero to destroy him. T then asked if the Wonwon people really have such a responsibility. The boy got angry and also said that he was not from Wonwon. Song Ren approached our hero and said that earlier the boy said that he was from Sangwon. He also added that the Sangwon family is the best at wielding a spear. Our hero heard these words and thought that his technique was very good. He asked the boy how old he was and then got angry because our first asked the same questions. And the boy replied that he was born in the year of King Sul. The guys did the math and realized that he was 16 years old. The boy said that he left home because he had no choice. Although his family is famous, their family does not have great wealth or prominent generals. Our hero thought that the boy abandoned his family, but he said that this was not so. He came to them to find a better future and make his parents happy. This was his plan, but it seems Tihen failed. The boy added that he had already been defeated by our hero's group, and it was probably all over for him. Suddenly Tihen got angry and hit the boy. He asked how the boy could call them a group of thieves. Energy also added that in the Byongju region, a boy can join their army from the age of 15. The boy thought about this in order to join their army and achieve success. And he was surprised and asked whether you really don't need to be rich to become a general. After that, he was surprised that everyone suddenly started laughing. Song Ren said that she and her friend are his right and left hands, despite the fact that they are from a family of butchers and farmers. Even the newly joined guy Guo Song was from a gang of thieves, but he is not close to a rich family. And the boy could not believe that such an army really existed. But the guys stood in front and said that there she was. Xiao Yun was one of the field warriors, who did even more difficult things for Cao Cao. His mere presence aroused respect among his enemies. However, the real story will begin after Young Po's death. The boy thought a little and bowed to the guy, and said that he would serve our hero as his commander. A little later in the evening, the old man was sitting in his office and reading some sheet of paper. It turned out that our hero is in the army and military rules. The assistant said that Tihen deserves punishment. The old man asked if the assistant really thought so. But despite this, he saved the great General Jian Yang, so his achievements deserve the JAS award. The old man understood what her assistant was talking about and said that he could go. As soon as he was left alone in the office, he laid the sheet in his hands and was very annoyed with our hero